This past week, I ran a couple of small experiments with the way that I use my phone, and it had an unexpected impact on my game development and the amount of energy that I had to dedicate to it. So, because of that, and because of how surprising it was to me, that is kind of the inspiration for today's episode. We're talking about my phone, and then we're talking about how that ties into idle games a little bit. We're more focused on development this episode, and I will give you a bit of an update on how my game development journey is going. This is Game Develop Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and as always, thank you for listening. I did not realize the extent to which using my phone on the drive home from work was getting in the way of me developing video games. Because, I'll play you through the scenario here. I turn on a video for my drive home. The video is, let's say, 5 minutes longer than my drive home. I get home, I go, well, I might as well finish the video while I'm listening to it. Let me have a little post-work snack. I finish the video, I'm still eating the snack, or I'm making the snack, or whatever. So I start up a new video. Once I finish the snack, the video's still going. So I go, well, I might as well do this other thing while the video's going. Long story short, I never get around to developing games because one thing is chaining into another for a while. And then I lose all my spare time, and I don't even realize that it's happened because I'm just pulling one direction to the other and back and forth and back and forth. And the whole thing started because I went, I would really like to listen to something in the background on my way home. Not as bad with music, probably. I'll test it. But with YouTube videos, it seems like it's actually massively destructive to my ability to sit down and work on the things that I love. So I experimented with that across the span of a week. I ran into this because I made a bet with myself. I went, I bet that not using my phone on the way into work, all day at work. Basically, I bet that not using my phone for media consumption would make me feel less strained. And that's kind of what it did. That turned out to be true, but the more important effect that it had was that it didn't have me jumping from thing to thing, and it just took up less of my time. I just ended up being able to pursue the things that I love doing. I underestimated the extent to which my phone has an impact on my behavior, which is insane because I'm very intense about being intentional with my phone. Like, I removed all social media from it. I've removed all notifications. I've done all of these different things to make my phone have less of an impact on me. And yet, it was still having an enormous impact on me, my work ethic, my schedule, my tiredness, my distractibility. I found that I had a whole week of much better days because I woke up, didn't pull up media on my phone, got through the whole work day, was just any time that I didn't have something to work on or had like a moment of just like quiet or whatever, I would be looking at the next part of my project at work and start focusing in on that. Or if there was truly nothing to work on, if I was waiting on somebody else, then my brain could wander to whatever it wanders to, which can inspire some creative ideas. It turned into one of the best weeks I've had at work. Full stop. It was really nice and one of the most enjoyable game development weeks that I've had at home. And I got all my homework for my apprenticeship stuff done early for my job. I just generally made a lot more progress because of this one little change that was not that painful. Of, you know what, you don't need some random YouTube video to listen to on your way into work. And if I'm that random YouTube video and I'm shooting myself in the foot in terms of, view count or whatever, I don't care. This channel, this podcast's whole point is to connect with people who are making things and to all help each other make things. So if you listen to this and you go, man, I should really try this whole no media on my drive in or on my drive home thing, try it. If you're like, oh, well, but this is what I normally listen to. Okay, cool. Don't listen to it, right? Do what you need to do the things that you enjoy doing. Now, this ties in to some other stuff. But let me finish talking about development first. We're switching the order for today's episode. We're talking about development first, then we'll talk about games, and then we'll get to our usual closer segment. So a little bit more on development. What have I done? I have brainstormed a bunch of ideas, which was fun. Just kind of in spare time. I've worked on my main concept. I have created a backup of the combat system that I created, because I had this moment of, oh wait, this might be reusable. I might be able to just throw this into some other stuff, and then started customizing it a little bit more for the project that I'm working on. Did I get an enormous amount done this week? No, not really. But I learned a few things about button menus in Godot. I started exploring those, playing with them a little bit. Just continued polishing up the combat system that I have set up and exploring it and understanding it and messing with the code. And a week of not necessarily big steps forward, but a week of grasping new concepts a little bit. And I didn't put, hours and hours of just hard coding, getting stuff done, grinding forward. A lot of it was sitting down and doing game design. A lot of it was writing down ideas and going, what about this? What about that? Hold on. I've got my game design sheet right in front of me. Okay. Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out my combat system. The way in which you make combat actually interesting, because what I have right now is a draft that is simply you can guard, you can run, you can attack, right? There's just damage. There's the level up system is not implemented, but there's the ability to easily implement a level up system. And I was going, okay, before I take further steps in this, before I really dive deep into making all of the detailed elements of this combat system, I should know what my blueprint is. I should know what it is that I'm actually making here before I go any deeper. I have the absolute fundamentals, but some of them I'm going to twist. Some of them I'm going to turn around, flip them on their head, and make things just a little bit more interesting, right? And I need a clearer picture of some bigger stuff in the game in order to do that. So that is the main thing that I worked on this week. Big picture, what is my combat going to look like? Followed by little picture, what little implementation details are essential for it to have this particular feel, for it to have these mechanics that make you feel more like you are engaging with the theme of the game. This is something I care a lot about. I like the mechanics of a game to be intrinsically tied to the mood of the game, the message of the game, the theme of the game. I want everything to be, collectively giving you the same kind of message. I want it to all be fairly intertwined. I want there to be one cohesive story that it is telling you. And I think that requires a little bit more design early on than I am naturally prone to doing. I'm kind of prone to going, oh, this seems fun, make it. This seems fun, make it. And I think the more structure I can give, the more that's going to free me to do that kind of development, where I can just kind of freewheel it. Now, let's talk about some games. Do you play a lot of idle games? Because I got a game on my phone right now called Neko Atsume. It is a cat collector game. I like it. It's adorable. Now, because of the whole phone thing, I started thinking about idle games, and I started kind of going, I don't like having one on my phone. And I started wondering, for me, what's kind of the ideal idle game? Now, I like something like Cookie Clicker because you're pretty active on it, and it's on your desktop, right? Or your laptop or whatever. It's not really something I would have on my phone personally. I mean, maybe a lot of people play it on their phone, but I don't want it to be something that can distract me, that I'm constantly wanting to check and pop in on. And I'm fascinated by the idea of idle games right now because they're very popular and they're interesting. And I think they're the most phone-like game that I can think of. The most ambient distraction in the background style game. The thing that you just check periodically. And I don't know how I feel about that. I've played some short form idle games that are fantastic, that I really like. Norp Apolog, beautiful, wonderful game. Almost no complaints. In fact, no complaints. Incredible game. Cookie Clicker, incredible game. Big enough to maybe ruin your life if you have an addiction to it. Not literally, but that is a monster of a game. If I were designing an idle game, what would I go after on this? Now, I'm really thinking about this because there was a game on Steam that I kept looking at that was like it was called like Fisher's Fishing Journey or something. It is a cat on the corner of your screen that fishes. And I almost bought it multiple times. It looks really cute. It looks really nice. And I went, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice to just have this going on my screen? Wouldn't it be nice to just have a nice little fishing thing going?" But there's this little voice in the back of my head that's like, that way I can be catching fish all the time. That way I can be doing this anytime I want to. I can be developing and have this little guy catching fish in the background. But for me, I think that might be too big of a distraction. It's not that I'm going to be interacting with it constantly, but it's that there's going to be this voice in the back of my head that goes, what about the fish, though? Or the moment that I pause and start having a moment to have like a deeper thought about something, to really dig into a problem and start being able to just kind of brainstorm other ideas and let my mind sprawl out in multiple directions until it finds something interesting. Instead, I'll go, oh, but like one of the directions will be, oh, that cat game that I have running right now. I wonder what I've caught. And that's very easy to just go and check and then come back to your work and go, where was I? And then, kind of just, it's the doorway effect. You go through the doorway and you forget what you were looking for. I feel like it's a little bit of that. You click on the idle game and you go, oh, what was I doing? But this is more with like desktop games. Simultaneously, I would like to make one of those. I think a little desktop idle game is cool. I think it's interesting. I think it's a fun idea. And I think for tasks that you just kind of like are doing, like a grindy task, it's a nice thing to have. If you're not doing like a deep problem solving, hard, tricky, whatever thing, why not have that there? At the same time, I don't know. What is the role of those desktop games? It's that thing happening passively in the background all the time. I don't know if it has a place in my life, but I keep wanting to explore them lately because they just seem like this new, enticing, weird little genre. And I wonder if you could make one that is sort of like a positive, helpful reminder to do this, that, or the other. And they tend to be very wholesome. But I wonder if you could have a desktop game that's kind of just like this little guy that like stands up and starts stretching. And it's just a reminder, every 30 minutes, the little guy stands up and you go, oh yeah, I guess I should be doing that. I shouldn't have told you all that game idea. Okay. So I feel like somebody's going to make that, which you should. I think that'd be cool. But just like a positive, I don't know, little inspiring little dude that goes, oh, do this now. That's based on a realistic timeline, and you can schedule it to do this at this time and that at that time. And get some water. He gets dehydrated. He's got his own little meters and so on and so on. You can modify it to match whatever's going on with you, but I don't know. There's a version of this that interests me a lot, and every time I look at these games, I haven't quite found the right thing. I've played with a couple of them, and they've tended to be very distracting. I'd like a little desktop game that is somehow a supplement to what I'm doing. Now, that might be a fundamentally flawed idea. That might be something that just doesn't really work. But I want it, and I haven't explored it, and I don't think that it's been explored that much, to be honest. There's a full-screen game I can think of, actually, that I used to use on stream. Lo-Fi City Spirit Sessions? Is that what it was called? Spirit Sessions is in the name. Hold on. I'm not pausing the episode, but I am looking this up. Lo-Fi Spirit Sessions. It'll pull it up. Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions is the name of the game. Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions is a very nice, like almost just a Pomodoro timer with a cool vibe and aesthetic in the background that's kind of soothing and relaxing that you don't have to engage with much. In fact, there's very little you can engage with in it. And I also wonder if I would be fooling myself by saying that that is like helpful, you know? Anything I'm giving my attention to, I'm a little cautious of, especially these days. And I don't know. I think there's a role for these games, but I think it might stress me out too much. I think the cute little frog on the desktop hopping around being a cool little buddy might somehow stress me out. And I think that's a me problem. I don't think that's a problem with these games. I think that's my mindset, my weird hyper-focus thing, or my inability to just like turn that game on when appropriate and turn it off when appropriate, you know? So, I don't know. That's something I'll play with. You know what? Maybe I pick up one of those games. Maybe I don't. I'll let you know. If you get an episode where I'm just talking about how great this adorable little thing on my screen is, then you know that I ended up picking one up. I think that's that on the game side of things. I have a couple games that I'm intending to play but haven't dug into yet, as always. Same with you, I'm sure. I am trying to pick back up on the community side of things on the game dev check-ins on our Discord, right? I feel that I've been underutilizing the Discord as a tool to connect with the community, as a tool to have us all support each other and inspire each other. And I think that conversation, that sense of community and so on is a valuable thing that I'm able to build in the Discord and have not been doing to the extent that I would like to, just because I've been so distracted and so overwhelmed and this and that and the other and other excuses. But I had a little clarity this week, and I'd like to bring that back a little bit. And so I did ask one check-in question. I will try not to engage too much with them when I ask those questions. They're usually things that I'm curious about too, but I'll like pop in, give an answer, give some thumbs up to things. But I kind of want the community to naturally evolve and connect through that. I might ask some questions if I'm super curious about something or if I'm excited about something, but by all means, hop in there, interact. I'll come up with a question. In fact, the question that I asked this week at the end of the episode, we're going to put that as our discussion question. So I will have probably already sent that out to everybody before this episode even posts. Here's the discussion question for this week, and it may be more or less interesting to you depending on your particular style of development and the games that you play. But the question is, if you were to develop a mobile game, what would it be? Because I think a lot of us, if you're like a core gamer, right, if you're used to playing on your computer, you may not have an interest in mobile, in which case it's an even more interesting challenge. What would you do if you were making a mobile game? Maybe you're used to playing mobile games and you have a very instant reaction that goes, oh, I like this and this and this, but I don't like this. And you have your own formulation of it. But I'm curious what your mindset is on developing a mobile game. And you can answer this question very broadly or very specific, right? You can say, I kind of like this genre, I kind of like this vibe, I don't want this thing in my game. I just want this to launch off into a discussion about mobile games in general. And maybe a little bit about idle games because I'm interested in those. But I don't know. It just seems like a nice discussion to have. That is it. That's everything I've got for you this week. I'm going to try to keep doing these discussion questions on the podcast for a little while. Test that out. See how you guys like it. As always, feel free to give me feedback either at anxiousbuddhagames@gmail.com or on the Discord. You are welcome to directly message me there as well. That's all I've got for you this week. Thank you, as always, for listening. Until next week, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. All right, bye-bye.